Now we continue, as we said we were going to before, with this Dake book here. We go right back where we left off, where I actually read this verse right here, which is chapter 4, verse 1, which I just read to you. Then underneath that is Dake's comment just on basically that one verse itself. So what I will do for you now is read what Dake has to say about this. No, don't forget, Dake has a lot of scripture references, some of which I will not read because that won't help you very much, but some I might. So here we go. This is what Dake says. The first three words after this are from the Greek phrase meta toilata, Touta, which means after these things. It occurs in the following passages in the book and is translated as follows. In 119, hereafter, in 41 twice, after this, and hereafter in 7:1, these after these things in 7:9, after this in 18:1, after these things in 19:1, after these things in 23. After that, meta with the accusative case always means after in correction in time. It is clear in these passages also that many other outside of this book do the same thing. Then he's talking about Matthew and John. Revelation 4:1 literally means after these things, the things which concern the church. I looked, and the first voice had come up thither, and I will show you these things which must be after these things, that is, after the churches, Dake says. Then he goes on to say, this emphasizes the third and last natural division of the book, which includes things which must be after the rapture of the church. These three divisions do not overlap, nor are they concurrent. One division is completely finished before the other begins. After this, that is, after seeing Christ in the midst of the candlesticks, and he foresaw the history of Christendom until the rapture of the church. John looked and saw a door already open in heaven. He saw the door of heavenly tabernacle, which was the pattern of the door of the earthly tabernacle. Then he refers to Hebrews 8:5 and 9:23 to 24. Then he continues on the next page, saying, it is not unreasonable to believe that this door is literal, plainly pictured here. It's a literal door. And in Revelation 11:19, in 14:15 to 18, in 15:5 to 8, and in 16:1 and 17. There is no such thing as a spiritual door. This word heaven is used 52 times in Revelation and always is singular, except in Revelation 12:12. There is no indication that heaven is spiritual, and if it is literal, then the door is also literal. The other silver-toned voice of the trumpet that spoke to John in the first in Revelation 1:10 spoke to him here and said, come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. John doubtless was caught up to heaven bodily, as was Enoch, and probably St. Paul. The term come up hither is used only twice more in the book, and then it is a bodily ascension of the two witnesses to heaven that is in Revelation 11:12. So you see how Dake is a literalist when it's possible to take it that way, unless it is symbolic. And Dake makes that very clear. But when he says these things was caught up, now where it says was caught up to come through the two, what Dake means is that John was not on the earth looking up through the door of heaven, but it was taken up through this little door actually into heaven. In other words, he had a transcendence of his own self into that particular place, which was heaven. And there's where he saw what God had asked him to see and asked him to hear and told him what it would mean. And then as you go on, you get the heavenly throne, which he has another section on, the heavenly elders, and the heavenly tabernacle continues with other things from that same chapter and other verses in it. So what you see here is that Dake parallels the futurist view that we did before we did this, and that he is in that futurist type of setting for how you interpret the book of Revelation. Now, the next thing we're going to do this very same passage in Dake's huge, gigantic, annotated reference Bible to see how that takes verse 1 as well. By the way, when we get there, to get a full meaning of what a Dake means, he will refer us to the New Testament book of Hebrews, and there we will get a fuller outline, because Dake is like that. He gets to the place he thinks most of what you want to know about a particular subject is given. Then he gives you a full set of notes that give you all of it. In previous places, he'll give you some, but then he'll tell you where to go to next for all of it. So we will deal that next before we get to the other types of Bibles who have different points of view completely than these which we have done so far. So our next section will be on that huge Dake's Annotated Reference Bible for the book of Revelation, chapter 4, verse 1, which makes a distinct division between the parts of the book of Revelation.